Committee at this time. Thank you for your patience, and we are down to our final witness for the day, Josiah Lanning. Welcome to committee. Both of you may proceed. You and the dog.
Thank you. Chairman Lips, Vice Chairman Holmes, Ranking Member Russo, and distinguished members of the House Health Committee. My name is Josiah Lanning. I stand before you here today as a lifelong resident of the state of Ohio and a strong proponent of House Bill 248. Unlike previous expert witnesses, my area of expertise is not medicine or virology. Rather, I am a subject matter expert on both public policy and COVID discrimination. Through our brief time together, my hope is to provide this committee with an alternative perspective as it relates to Ohio's COVID response, including the systematic persecution of both minorities and individual thought. Since April 2020, 11 million Ohioans, including those with a wide range of disabilities, have been subjected to some variation of a mask order. The subsequent propaganda campaigns have served as wedges which have isolated people who are unable to mask, framing non-maskers as those who are to blame for the delayed return to normalcy. Utilizing the societal environment created by an unprecedented year-long campaign of fear and misinformation, our state's leading health administrators have been empowered to create public policy which has served to erase over a century of civil rights advancement through the reestablishment of societal segregation and discrimination. Medical Jim Crow. Following the end of the Reconstruction era, Plessy versus Ferguson laid the legal foundation for the policy doctrine known as separate but equal. As a result, black codes were developed to segregate otherwise equal citizens, affecting almost every aspect of life. Nearly 150 years later, businesses throughout Ohio have incorporated state-sanctioned discrimination into their corporate policies. Mask or vax policies are reminiscent of the repulsive whites-only policies that dominated the South for decades. Businesses which have utilized curbside service as an accommodation have allowed payment while requiring citizens to wait outside in the elements of Ohio weather. Reminiscent of your kind ain't welcome here. If you want service, you can pick it up round back. Let me make something very clear. The enforcement of segregated service based on a mask or an injection is no different than the service given to black citizens following the Reconstruction era. Discriminatory statements such as no mask, no service, no exemptions are socially acceptable now. Soon, without intervention, many Ohioans will hear no vaccine, no service, no exemptions. Separate but equal. My life matters just as much as anyone else in this state, yet I have been harassed and demonized as well as societally and economically isolated, all over my inability to wear a mask and my conscientious objection to the injection. Dr. Martin Luther King famously said, "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere." Yet there's no one outside protesting for those who have been unjustly treated. There's nobody outside chanting "say his name," nor is hashtag justice for Josiah trending on social media. Societal equality has been all but erased, as nobody cares about exemptions or seemingly even the notion of individual rights, much less freedom of consciousness. Health administrators have arguably done more damage to the societal well-being of Ohio than COVID through the recreation of moral and medical supremacy. While I understand some of my statements thus far may be viewed as extreme, I am your canary in the coal mine. For over a century, Politically empowered health administrators have systematically targeted those deemed societally expendable, minority populations, the physically and mentally challenged, and conscientious objectors as a part of their vile public health policy of eugenics. Yes, times may have changed. However, practices have remained the same as public health administrators have contemplated forcibly removing those deemed infected from their homes so that they could be properly quarantined. In the name of public health, we have injected the masses of elderly and disabled, many who don't have the cognitive ability to understand, and they're the exact same people we were told 15 months ago were the high risk and most vulnerable, with an untested, unproven, emergency use authorization injection. Yes, morally degenerate health administrators are using blacks, the elderly, and the disabled as primary test subjects, just like totalitarian governments buried in world history. In conclusion, under the guise of public health, Ohioans have suffered through egregious abuses of power as health administrators have established medical Jim Crow. Demonized, ostracized, and persecuted. Make no mistake, many of the same businesses Ohio empowered to enforce the state's hideous mask mandates have now become the unofficial tactic for injection coercion. For politically empowered health administrators, the COVID public health emergency and its associated fear campaign have served as the perfect vehicle to implement a global system by which no man can buy or sell without compliance. Under no circumstances should my right to work, shop, or engage in commerce be tied to whether or not I engage in a government-sanctioned activity. Through House Bill 248, this committee in the 134th General Assembly can reaffirm the foundational principle that all men are created equal, and that societal segregation and discrimination, regardless of its form, has zero place in the state of Ohio. Thank you. Be happy to take any of your questions.
Thank you very much for your testimony and for your patience in sticking with us all day, Josiah. I appreciate seeing you at the State House nearly every day, quite honestly. I always talk to you outside session, and it's always a pleasure to see you. Committee questions? Representative Gross.
Chairman Lips to Josiah, thank you so much for being here. Josiah, have you personally experienced discrimination in your comings and goings, either here at the State House, in your general daily living, as you're going about doing your daily duties?
Chairman Lips, Representative Gross, the answer to your question shortly is yes. For the past 5 or 6 months, I've experienced nearly discrimination every day over my inability to wear a mask. Nearly everything I talked about in my testimony is things that I've experienced. I've been chased out of stores, I've been yelled at, I've gotten to the front of line, I've waited in lines to check out and buy something only to be told, we don't serve non-maskers, or better yet, we'll serve you, but we have to let everybody that came in after you go first. Once the building's clear, then we'll serve you. So nearly every day for 6 months, yes, I've experienced discrimination.
Committee, anything else? For our audience, as your committee members are looking at our iPads and following the testimony or the line of thought, Josiah, I just wanted to comment. It was easy to do your footnoting. A lot of times we'll see a footnote at the end, but you're footnoting throughout your paragraphs. So one of your statements I went, well, okay. So I rolled down there, point 8, McManus, D, April 11, 2021. It spells it all out. It's beautifully done, and allows us to do the immediate research. So thank you for the way this is presented. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you.
This is where I lose all respect of my committee, and I tell you that I lied. It wasn't our final witness. Yeah, I know. I'm in trouble at home, too, so what the hell, right?